My mom kicked me out of the house when I was 14. 10 years later, she showed up again to ask for money. But not just to ask for money, but to manipulate her young children, whom she had from another man. I believed her. For the first time, I felt that I had a family. And only then did I realize that she hadn't changed. She just found a new way to use me. But this time, I'm no longer the boy who doesn't speak. I am the one who takes back control. When I was 14, I first realized that someone else was in our house. At first, it didn't seem that important. Just my mom's new husband, who often brought hamburgers from drive-thru and laughed out loud at his own jokes. I had nothing against him. I was a kid who spent more time on my laptop trying to learn Python and Unity than on social media. I wasn't a problem. I was just superfluous. Though I can't say that my mother hadn't tried to show me that I was special to her before, it seemed like she was angry because my father had left her a few years ago, and she was taking it out on me. In the first weeks, she seemed to be trying to be a mom, but as time went on, it only got worse. It became different. Cold. When the three of us were at the table, she would look at him as if I were just a shadow in the corner. It started with little things. My favorite macaroni and cheese was no longer cooked. She forgot to congratulate me on my test, which I passed with flying colors. Then she started refusing to go with me to the doctor or to parent-teacher conferences. All these little things were becoming a new reality. One day, when I woke up early, I heard her talking to him in the kitchen. I don't know what to do with him. He's always grumbling. I think we just need more space for ourselves. I froze in the doorway. They were talking about me as if I were furniture. An object. An obstacle. A few days later, I came home and saw boxes on the bed. She was standing there with her hands at her sides. You're a big boy now. You need to learn to live on your own. I'm tired. I was silent. What do you say when your own mother kicks you out for a stranger you've known for 6 months? I left. I spent the first night in my friend Alex's basement. His parents were not happy, but they let me stay for a couple of days. Then another friend, another night, and so on in a circle. I felt like a ball that no one wants to hold for too long. They helped me, but in every look I saw, how much longer will this go on? I tried not to break down. I worked in a local cafe, mopped floors, then tried to earn extra money as a freelancer on websites for programmers. I didn't want to be a victim. I dreamed of one day looking her in the eye and saying, "Thank you, Mom, for throwing me out. It was the best thing you ever did for me." But then it was just survival. I was freezing. Hungry nights, bruises on my back from the hard couch, and a constant question. Why? Not because of the drugs. Not because of the police. Not because of the conflicts. Just because she started a new life. And in this new life, there was no place for me. Life without a home is not a scene from a movie. This is not the romantic rebellion with a guitar that teenagers read about on forums. It's when you have a change of t-shirt in your backpack, a cheap toothbrush from Walmart, and a pack of almond bars that should last you 2 more days. You also have a phone with 14% charge and 0 places to recharge it. After my mom kicked me out of the house, I hung out with friends for a few days. Some let me stay for 1 night, others for 2. But no one wanted to take responsibility. Everyone was afraid of what their parents would say. Why is he not at home? And then they would have to explain that my mother chose a strange man over her son. After 10 nights in basements, on sofas, sometimes even in garages, I realized that no one would come to save me. I often remember one particular day. It was cold, November. I was sitting at a bus stop without a hat or gloves. The wind was blowing in my ears, and I was clutching a plastic bag with a sandwich wrapped in a napkin. My lunch. And dinner. There was nothing left for breakfast. A woman came up to me. She looked about 50 years old, dressed in a cheap coat. I thought she was going to ask for an hour. But she sat down next to me, looked at me, and said, "Did they throw you out too?" I looked at her in surprise. "My husband fired me," she continued, "because I couldn't work 16 hours anymore. He said I was a burden." We were silent for about 5 minutes. Then she pulled a thermos out of her bag and handed it to me. "Hot tea. With lemon. Take it." I refused, but she insisted. So I drank it. It was a sip of warm tea that tasted better than ever. We never learned each other's names. But that tea was like humanity in a sea of indifference. I continued to go to school. Not because I was forced to, but because it was the only place where I felt something like normal. My math teacher, Mrs. Grace, began to notice that I came in with wet hair in the cold, that my clothes were always wrinkled, and that I had shadows under my eyes. "Where do you live, Jason?" I lied. I told her I was at my aunt's. But she didn't believe me. And when I fell asleep in class, she called me after school. Listen, she said, I'm not prying into your personal life, but I can see that something is wrong with you. And if you don't tell me now, I'll ask the social service to look into it. That day, I cried in front of an adult for the first time since my expulsion. I just sat in the classroom and couldn't stop my tears. I told everything briefly, without details, about how I was expelled, about how I sleep wherever I have to, and that I didn't want to go back to that house. Mrs. Grace was silent. And then she did the most humane thing anyone has ever done in my life. She didn't send me to an orphanage. She helped me get enrolled in the school's sleepover program on campus. It was a 3-by-3-meter room in an old dormitory, a shower on the floor, a plastic mattress, but it was home. For the first time in a long time, I went to sleep not in someone else's living room or basement, but in my own corner. To have money for food, I got a job in a small cafe near the school. I washed the floor, plates, and cleaned the fryer. They paid me little, but it was my first money of my own. At the same time, I was on Reddit and learning programming. At first, I thought it was nonsense, some teenager with dirty hands going into IT after working in a cafe. But the more I read, the more I believed that maybe this was my chance. There was an old computer in the school library that no one used. I would put my old phone next to it and write code, HTML, CSS, then Python. I wrote notes at night, went to work during the day, and went to school in between. That was the moment when I said to myself, they kicked you out because they thought you were a burden. Prove them wrong. Mom? Not a single message. Not a single call. Not on my birthday, not on Christmas. One day, I decided to write to her again. Just, hi, I'm alive. She replied, good. I hope you understand why I did it. And don't get mad anymore. Good luck. Good luck. Not even a how are you? Not even, I'm sorry. That day, I threw her number out of my phone. And from my heart, everything that was still left in me towards her. One evening, I cleaned up the cafe and was about to leave when the manager, a middle-aged man named Joel, approached me. Do you know how Google Sheets works? Yes. And HTML? Yes. A little. A friend of ours is looking for a teenager for an internship. It's a work-study kind of thing. He doesn't promise money, but there might be a chance. It was the first time the world told me, hey, you're not written off yet. I agreed. It was an office in the basement, a small startup that created apps for small businesses. I was fetching coffee, making spreadsheets, but also watching the guys write code. And every night, I would go home, open my laptop, and try to replicate what I saw. 2 months passed, and one of the developers, Josh, said, you're not bad. You're really good. We've been watching. Do you want to try a small module for our project? I said yes. And I did. And they accepted. It was not a victory. It was a breakthrough. I didn't know then that in a few years my name would be listed among the founders of one of the fastest-growing IT startups in the state, that I would be lecturing at colleges, that I would have a house, a car, and my own team. I knew one thing then. I survived the cold. I survived the silence. I had survived. And now, when I'm 18 and standing at the crossroads of life, I know for sure. My story is just beginning. And for those who once kicked me out, they may not like it very much. The first salary is not about numbers. It's about what no one else will say to you. You owe me a roof over my head. It's about independence, even if it's only $480 for a month of internship. It was my $480. My work. My life. I was officially hired at the startup where I was interning. Josh, the same programmer who gave me the first module, became something of a mentor. He was tough, no indulgences, but fair. You can be cool. But if you start feeling sorry for yourself, you'll burn out, he said. I haven't felt sorry for myself for a long time. There was no one to feel sorry for me for a long time. I worked almost 7 days a week. My studies were still going on. I was graduating from school on a flexible schedule. Coding during the day, studying in the evening, and more coding at night. And gradually, it started to show results. I was invited to build a simple CRM system for a small business. A couple from Vermont were opening a bakery and wanted something to store orders and a customer base. They paid me $150. I felt like Mark Zuckerberg. It wasn't about the money. It was about recognition. Someone, an adult, a real person with a business, trusted me and paid me and left 5 stars. At 18, I opened my first account on Upwork. I made landing pages, helped with email automation, and corrected back-end stores. I slept for 4 hours a night. But each new transaction was like a step up. I started saving. I bought a new laptop. I moved into a rented room in a house where another programmer lived, a student from Missouri. We hit it off right away. He became, in fact, my first real friend. Everything was going well. And so, I felt that my life was not so shameful. I was able to do it. I was able to survive, and more than that, I was able to become a human being. I am 25 years old. I have everything I was once afraid to even imagine. I have my own apartment, not huge, but modern. I have Apple devices that I used to see only on a demo stand at Best Buy. Working for a reputable company that pays so well that I don't have to worry about whether I'll have enough for the end of the month. Clients from California, Boston, even one collaboration with a Canadian company. And something even more important, I sleep well. But sometimes in the silence I remember myself at 14. How I wore torn sneakers and hid money under the insole. How I dreamed of a clean bed. How I woke up thinking no one will remember me today. And now I am the one who is invited to conferences. I manage a team of 12 people. I am respected. And it was at the moment when I started breathing with a full chest that she found me. It started with a letter. Yes, a physical paper letter, not an email. The envelope is thin, white, and has my full name on it, my old surname that she never remembered fondly. The sender is SM, Colorado. I froze. I opened it slowly, as if it might explode. Hello, Jason. I know it's been a long time. I didn't expect you to want to hear from me. But recently a friend of mine sent me a YouTube video of you speaking at some conference. She said, "Isn't that your son? You told me about him once." I was surprised. And I can't stop thinking about it. I'm writing to you because I really want to talk to you. I turned the letter over. There was another paragraph. I have 2 children, Lily and Zach. They are 9 and 7. They are very smart and talented. I want to give them what I couldn't give you. But it is very difficult for us. Tutors, clubs, studies, everything is expensive. Maybe we could meet. I didn't read the letter a second time. I had already read everything I needed to. I want to give them what I couldn't give you. It was not an apology letter. It was a request. And even worse, there was no mention of what she had done. Not a word. "I'm sorry I kicked you out." Not a mention that she hadn't written for 10 years. Not a line about the fact that I grew up without a mother, without a home, without support. I remember sitting at the table in my kitchen. It was evening. The window is slightly ajar. Spring fresh air. And this letter in front of me. It didn't hurt. I was already too far gone emotionally. But it did. It burned in my chest. How can a person who kicked you outright? You're successful. Can you help with my new children's clubs? I imagined her face. Not a young face anymore. Probably tired. Wrinkles. A look beaten down by life. And suddenly a question appeared in my mind. Does she regret it all? The next day I went to the gym. On the treadmill, running the 10th minute, I caught myself thinking, why did she wait until this moment? And then everything became clear. She hadn't lost anything. She had calculated everything. My friend saw the video from the conference. I went on stage with a badge, a company logo, and the brand of a large tech company behind me. She looked me up on Google and found my LinkedIn profile. Instagram is private, but the bio speaks for itself. And she realized, oh, my son is rich. It's time to mention him. I was in no hurry to respond. A week passed, then another one. And only on the 3rd one did I start writing. Not a letter. I didn't want romance. I wanted clarity. A topic. Jason. Sarah. I received your email. Thank you for reaching out, but I have to be honest. I don't know why you're really writing to me. I haven't heard from you since you kicked me out of the house at 14. You knew where I went to school, but you didn't show up at my graduation. You knew where I lived, but you didn't visit me when I was in the hospital after overworking at 17. And now that I have stability, you remembered that you have a son. And most importantly, you write that your new children need help. I have nothing against Lily or Zach. They're not guilty of anything. But let's be honest. You're not asking for a meeting. You're asking for money. And I'm not the one who will pay for the comfort of a person who abandoned me during the worst time of my life. P.S. And by the way, I did become someone. But not because of you. But in spite of you. I pressed send. And I felt a sense of relief. I didn't know if she would reply. Or if she would make a drama. But deep down, I felt in control for the first time. Now I decided who had a place in my life. And you know, it was a high. After my letter, I expected an explosion. But I got silence. No response for a week. 2. A month. It was strange, because I was sure she wouldn't give up right away. But then it started. First, it was my Uncle Rick, my mom's brother. I hadn't seen him since I was 17. He wrote on Messenger. "Hi, Jace. Your mom said you responded after all these years. That's cool. I always said you were a smart guy. She's worried. A lot. She looks bad. She says she's sorry, but you're not giving her a chance. I understand you both made mistakes, but family is not something you throw away." I read it and closed it. A day later, another message. "Are you really not going to help her? You have everything. They have nothing. They're children. They're not to blame for anything. They need help. They need help with clubs, with laptops. It's not for her. It's for them." I didn't answer, but something inside was starting to boil. Not anger. It was fatigue. It wasn't care. It was pressure. Manipulation through guilt. And a few days later, when I returned home after a 12-hour shift, I opened the mailbox. There was another letter. From her. More emotional. "Jason, I understand you're angry, but I'm not a bad person. I did the best I could. It was hard for me at the time. Your stepfather threatened to leave. He said he didn't want to live with a teenager. I was alone, without a job. I didn't know what to do. You were strong. I thought you would survive. And you did. But now that you have everything, can't you give a little to the one who gave birth to you?" I reread the letter. Again, nothing about what she had done. Only, I had to. I was afraid. "You were strong." "Yes, I am. I am strong. I am now. Because you made me strong by leaving me." I didn't answer. Instead, I packed my bags and flew to San Diego for a weekend conference with my team. I gave a presentation on resilience in startup environments. And at the end, I inserted a slide. A white screen with just one phrase on it. "Your past does not oblige you to stay where you have been devalued." The audience applauded. And in me, something healed. I continued to receive messages from relatives, but I did not respond. I was silent. It was not revenge. It was defense. I just wouldn't let her destroy me anymore. I didn't respond to any messages anymore, both from relatives and from my mother's friends. I didn't care what they thought anymore. But then she called me. I didn't pick up the phone. Then she called again. The next day. The third time, she left a voicemail. "Jason, please. Just meet me. Just once. No strings attached. I just want to talk. I'm not asking for money. I promise. I need to see you." I didn't know what to do. On the one hand, everything she had done could not be erased. But on the other hand, something in me still wanted to put an end to it. I decided that I would go, but not alone. I called my friend, the same friend with whom I used to share an apartment when I worked at a startup. He agreed to be there for me, to wait in the car. We met in a small cafe near the city center. She was already sitting at a table when I walked in. She looked older. Not so much the wrinkles, but the look in her eyes, tired. I sat down. She smiled, but I didn't respond. I just waited. She spoke first. "You've changed. You've become an adult." "I'm sorry, I interrupted. "No need to play. Just tell me why I'm here." She hesitated. She began to pick at the napkin in her hands. "I'm not really after the money. It's just, I think of you all the time. You were a good boy, and I couldn't give you what I had. I was weak. I didn't think I could do it. I thought you would survive. You've always been strong." "I was a child," I answered. "And you kicked me out. You didn't forget me. You didn't distance me. You just said, 'Go away.' And you never looked for me again." She looked down. I was afraid. I didn't know what to do. I thought that if I started a new life, you would start yours. "And when you found out that I earned good money, did you remember that you had a son?" She looked at me silently. I didn't break down. I didn't want a scandal. I just looked at the person who had once been dearest to me and saw a stranger in front of me. She spoke again. "You don't understand. I really didn't ask for myself. I'm just afraid that my children will go the same way. I want to give them something better. And you are my son. I thought you would understand. You know what it's like to grow up with nothing." That's when I realized one thing. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She just wanted me to agree with her choice. She wanted me to recognize that she had done what she could. I stood up. "I'm sorry, but I'm not the kind of person who will help other people's children when you gave your own child away like trash." "That's cruel," she whispered. "No, it's fair. And it's cruel to throw a child out into the street and not look back." I walked away. I didn't turn around. I just walked out of the cafe, got into my friend's car, and said, "That's it. I've done it. He nodded and we drove away. This time she didn't write again. And I didn't wait. For me, it was not just a meeting. It was the end. Over the past 2 years, my YouTube channel has become quite popular. It all started with a few videos for beginners in web development. Simple tutorials, life hacks, how to launch your first website, where to look for clients, how to run projects. I was just sharing what I didn't have when I started. And as it turned out, there are a lot of guys and girls like me. Now I have over 80,000 subscribers. The channel is growing. Newcomers, students, and even some teachers write. On TikTok, I periodically post short videos showing my working days, code, meetings with clients, mini lectures. On Instagram, I post photos from conferences, trips, and life. My page is open. I am a public person. It's part of the job, part of me. And this is what started the wave. It all started with YouTube. A comment appeared under the video where I told how I brought my freelance business to a stable income. I wonder how you live so cool when your mother is in debt and your brothers don't even have normal backpacks for school. Account without an avatar. The nickname is something like Real Truth 1982. At first, I ignored it. But the next day, another comment. This time under another video. You tell us how to be successful, but you can't help your own family. Shame on you. Another day, and a message appeared on Instagram in the comments under the photo from the conference. Does your mother know how you throw around words about family values here? A real bombardment began. People wrote to me by mail, direct mail, and comments. Some relatives openly tagged me in their publications. His mother raised him alone, and this is how he thanks her. A real example of how to forget those who gave you everything. Others created fake accounts and wrote nasty things like, when you were old and lonely, remember how you disowned your mother. I tried to hold on, but it became too much. I have a business. I have a public profile. My clients read me. Comments are open. Everyone can see them. Some people started writing privately. Hey, I don't want to interfere, but are you okay? Who are these people? I had to turn off comments for a few days. It was like an information attack. I could have deleted everything. I could have closed the pages, but it would have meant that I was hiding, and I hadn't done anything wrong. So I decided to act differently. I sat down in front of the camera, in the same chair where I recorded each tutorial. I turned on the recording, and I just said, this video is not about code. It's not about business. It's about me, about something I've been silent about for years. I am 26 years old. When I was 14, my mom kicked me out of the house. Because of a new husband. I lived with friends, washed dishes, studied on my own, and no one was looking for me. Today, she remembered that I exist. Because she found out that I was successful. And now my relatives are writing to me that I should help. But I owe nothing to those who once abandoned me. I'm grateful for my life, but that doesn't mean I have to pay for other people's choices. If you think I'm heartless, that's your choice. But my story is real, and I have the right to tell it. I posted the video. I titled it simply, I Owe Nothing. Within a day, it had 70,000 views. Hundreds of comments. 90% were supportive. Finally, someone said it out loud. You are not guilty. You survived. And this is your victory. I was kicked out at 16, and I still feel it every day. This video did not stop everyone, but it stopped me from remaining silent again. And most importantly, I now had an audience that saw not only the posts of my relatives, but also the truth. After my video, it became quiet, at least from her side. Some relatives still wrote something on their pages, but without names, without direct accusations, because now more people knew my version, and they supported me. I finally exhaled, and then I received an email. It was sent from an address I hadn't seen before. It was simple. They want to tell you something. The email had a video file attached. MP4. No signature, no description, just a file. I didn't open it right away. At first, I sat for a few minutes and just looked at it. Something inside me told me that this was it again. I pressed play. The camera was pointed at the kitchen table. There was a boy and a girl in the frame. They were small, 9 and 7 years old. They were sitting next to each other. A little stiff, but they didn't look scared. The girl was the first to speak. Hello, Jason. We know you are our brother. Mommy says you're very nice, and that you are smart, and you have your own channel. She showed us your videos. We like them. We just wanted to say that we want to meet you. The boy continued. I like computers, and my mom says you work with them. It would be cool if you could show me something. And Mom said you don't have time. We just want you to know that we love you." At the end, they both smiled and waved. "Bye, Jason." And that was it. The end of the video. I looked at the screen and two things were fighting inside me. The first was that these children were innocent. The second was that they didn't know the truth. They were just repeating what they were told, what their mother had written to them or told them behind the camera. I didn't cry. I was not angry. I just sat there in silence. And I felt something shrinking inside. The next day, I received another letter. This time it was from her. The subject line: "Just look. They are sincere." In the body of the letter: "I don't ask for anything else. I know you won't forgive, but give them a chance. They are not to blame for what I did. They see you as a brother. And it's sincere. Don't close the door on them. That's all I ask." I sat there thinking for a long time. A little boy who wanted affection and care from his mother and received nothing from her in return. Then there was the self-confident adult who wanted to punish everyone and everything who was connected to her. And something changed. Maybe it was their sincere hello. Maybe it was the calmness in the boy's voice when he said he loved computers. Maybe it was the way they smiled. Not like in a video shot for the image, but sincerely. A little awkward, a little childish. I remembered myself at 7 and at 9, and how then I just wanted someone to accept me, without any conditions, just like a family member. And it became clear to me, if I completely reject these children now, I will become partly the person I once hated. A person who closes the door not to those who are guilty, but to those who are close to them. A few days later, I wrote to my mom. It's cold, calm, but honest. I saw the video. They are good kids, and I'm ready to meet them. But without you. No pressure. No plans. If they really want to see me, not on camera, not on instructions, I don't mind. Without you. I didn't know if there would be a meeting, but the very fact that I allowed the possibility of it was already a big step for me. And, honestly, at that moment I felt something I hadn't felt for a long time. Not anger, not fear, but a feeling that family is not necessarily about the past. It can start with the new. We agreed to meet on Sunday. I chose a cafe near the children's library. A quiet place, lots of windows, a large selection of desserts, nothing fancy. I arrived a little early. I took a black coffee and sat down at a table by the window. My heart was beating like at the first interview. Not because I was afraid. I didn't know how to behave. How with strangers? How with family? How with someone in between? They showed up right on time. One of my mom's friends came with them, a middle-aged woman I didn't recognize. She walked them to the door, said goodbye and left. The children stood in front of me. Lily was older, with dark ponytails and glasses. Zach was younger, holding a small Rubik's Cube. "Hi," I said, standing up. "Hi," they both replied. I invited them to sit down. They carefully sat down at the table. I asked them to choose something. Lily chose lemonade. Zach chose hot cocoa. The silence lasted for 30 seconds. I opened the conversation. "How are you? Do you like to read?" Lily nodded. "I'm reading Harry Potter right now." The second part. "There's a club at school. My mom says it's a classic." "Harry Potter is great," I replied. Zach added, "And I like robots. And computers. Mom showed me your video where you explain how to make a game. It's really cool." I smiled. These kids were real. No falsehoods. No words thrown in. Just normal, intelligent kids who wanted to learn something. "Do you want me to show you something?" I asked Zach. "Yes." His eyes lit up. I opened my laptop and showed him what the game code looked like. We played for a while and laughed. Lily listened, sometimes asking questions. We talked about school, their favorite subjects, even the cat they wanted to get. After an hour and a half, I suggested that they walk to the library. They immediately agreed. We went together. Me, two children whom I once didn't know, and now I don't quite know, but are no longer strangers. At the library, we took a few books, and Lily showed us her favorite shelf of fiction. Zach was interested in a Lego set that he could take home with a reader's card. We were sitting on a bench in front of the entrance when Lily said, "Mom said you're very busy, and that maybe we are distracting you." I looked at her and said honestly, "No, you are not a distraction, and I'm glad you came." "Then can we see each other again?" asked Zach. "We can, but on one condition. You have to want to. No suggestions, no requests from anyone else." They both nodded. Sincerely, I walked them to the same place where my mom's friend's car was waiting. We said goodbye, without pathos, just goodbye. In the evening, I returned home and for a long time could not understand what I was feeling. It was not joy, and not sadness. It was something warm, pure. something I used to want from my family. And then I realized I'm not trying to create a new family. I'm just doing what I was never given, a chance to be close. But the next week, something changed. A letter from my mother. I saw that you met. I am glad. But I need to know that they are not wasting your time. You understand that if you're getting to know them, you have to help them somehow. Tutors, clubs, everything costs money. You don't just want to play with them, it's a responsibility. And that's it. The same scenario. It's her again. Again, you're to blame. You have to, they're yours. But now I knew how to react. And more importantly, I knew how to distinguish between sincerity and manipulation. A few months have passed since our first meeting. I didn't expect it to develop into something real. But it did. We didn't see each other every day. We didn't build a new family. We just met whenever we could. Sometimes I would pick them up after school, go for ice cream, to the park, play board games in a coffee shop, or just talk about everything in the car. Over time, they started writing on their own. Lily would send photos of books she had read and ask me for my opinion. Zach, drawings of an idea for a computer game he had invented. One day I took Zach to work with me. I showed him what the office looked like, introduced him to the guys from the team. He was delighted. He looked at the monitors as if they were spaceships. Do you think I'll be able to work here someday? He asked. If you want to, you can, I replied. He remembered that. He repeated it later in an Instagram message. I want to be like you. I didn't buy them expensive gifts. I didn't give them money for school. But we spent time together. I saw them grow, open up, and trust. And it was important to me. Because no one had ever done that for me. And then she appeared again. At first, it was subtle hints. Emails like, thank you for paying attention to them. It would be great if you could help them with a new backpack. The old one has a broken zipper. Zach wants to go to a robotics class, but it's a monthly fee. I don't want to ask, just think about it. I didn't respond. But over time, the messages became clearer. If you spend time with them, it means you want to be a part of their lives. And it's not just about walking. It's also caring, sharing, and expenses. I'm not rich. You might think you don't have the means to do this. I thought about her words for a long time. Not because of her, but because of them. These children became much more to me than just my maternal brother and sister. They reminded me of me. Me, small, forgotten, lonely. And I couldn't let them go through the same thing. I remembered when I was 9 years old, when I needed new sneakers and barely had anything to eat at home. I remembered what it was like to hear a teacher say, tell your mom, and you didn't know if you had anything to tell her. Then I made a decision. I will help them, but only them. I wrote a short message to my mother. Okay, send me a list of what you need. For the children, I'll send the money. She wrote back within 10 minutes. The list was long. A backpack, shoes, and some other things. I transferred everything without bargaining. The same day I transferred the money to her. A week later, she sent me a new list. Then another one. This went on for 3 months. The money went to various needs, clubs, tutors, things. And every time it was a little more. Plus 40, plus 100, plus 150. And I paid. Because I promised myself, these children are not to blame. It's not about the mother. It's about them. One day I decided to surprise them. It was a Thursday, the penultimate day before the summer vacation. I finished my work meetings quickly, bought movie tickets for a cartoon they wanted to see, and went to school. We walked out together. They saw me and were happy, but somehow constrained. Do you want to go to the movies? I asked. They looked at each other. Lily looked down. We can't, she said quietly. Why? Our aunt is supposed to come to get us. She's picking us up today. Aunt? Why not your mom? Silence. I leaned closer. What's wrong? Why aren't you talking? Lily took a moment, but said. They left. To Mexico. On vacation. My aunt and I stayed home. I didn't understand at first. To Mexico? Yes. Mom said we shouldn't say anything, so you wouldn't get nervous. I didn't breathe. I just looked at them. Asterisk, what the hell kind of vacation? All this time I was paying for food, clubs, utilities. She complained that there was no money at all, that the children were starving, asterisk. And they went to Mexico. With what money? When the kids left with their aunt, I got in the car and couldn't leave. I sat for 20 minutes and thought. Then I made a list. I started to remember everything I had dropped in the last few months. The amounts, goals, everything she had asked for. The next day, I met Lily. At their house. One-on-one. She was older, more outspoken. Listen, I'm going to ask you something, I said. Only honestly. It's important to me. Okay. Do you go to piano lessons? No. I wanted to, but my mom said it was expensive. And music? No. We don't go anymore. And school? Is there a fee for meals there? We take our own. I listened and remained silent. Did your mom tell you to be quiet? I asked. Yes. Lily answered embarrassedly. She said that if you found out, you would be offended and wouldn't want to see us anymore. Everything became clear. I was paying for her life. For hotels, for airline tickets, for cocktails on the beach. And the children were left out again. This time, I wasn't angry. Everything just fell into place. I heard everything I was afraid to hear. And there were no more illusions. They were supposed to come back on Sunday. I found out from the kids when exactly and decided that I wasn't going to wait any longer. I was not going to write again, to persuade again, to ask again. This time, the conversation would be my way. I arrived at the house an hour before their flight. I was sitting in the car, collecting my thoughts. Everything was clear in my head. No shouting. No quarrels. Just the facts. What I had decided, and what was no longer negotiable. An hour and a half later, they arrived. A taxi pulled up with suitcases, duty-free bags, and laughter. They got out. The mother in a white linen dress, tanned and smiling. Her husband was wearing sunglasses and carrying a large backpack. They looked happy. I got out of the car. She saw me, and her smile disappeared. He left her with the suitcases and went inside. I nodded. Let's talk. We went to the side, closer to the fence. I started. I know you were in Mexico. I know with what money. She was silent. She just sighed. You told me there was no money. That the children were starving. I paid. I covered the expenses. For food, utilities, backpacks, clubs, and all this for their sake. Only to find out that half of it was a lie. She tried to say something, but I raised my hand. Don't interrupt. Listen, starting today, I will no longer send money to you. From now on, I will personally buy everything the children need. For them, not you. School supplies, circles, books, shoes, I'll take care of it. If it's a school, I'll check the bill. If it's a doctor, I'll talk to the doctor directly. She blushed, but I continued. I really thought you had changed. That now you put your children before yourself. That you care not only about your life, but also about how they feel. But I was wrong. Just like when I expected you to come back for me. I didn't let that happen for me. And I won't let it happen to them. And then she broke down. If you don't send the money, I will do everything to make sure you don't see them again. I will forbid them to communicate with you. You are nothing to them. You are just a brother, only because of me and only with my permission. If I tell them not to go, they won't. Do you understand? It was like an electric shock. Everything I had been squeezing out of myself to stay calm went to hell. It wasn't just a threat. It was everything she had done to me then, at the age of 15, all over again. Only now she is trying to snatch from me something that has become important. Mine. These children gave me a sense of family. I never had one. And now she wanted to take it away again. Just like then. I looked her straight in the eyes. Slowly, clearly, without anger, but with a determination that I had never heard in myself. I will not let this happen to me again. I turned around and walked to the car. She was shouting something behind me, but I didn't listen. I just got in, started the engine, and drove away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. The next morning, I called my lawyer. It's time. Are you ready to go all the way? He asked. I am now. We met at the office. I brought a flash drive, a laptop, and printouts. I was ready. I had receipts of all transfers for the last 5 months. Screenshots of messages where she writes that there is not even enough for bread. Photos from their vacation in Mexico, which her husband carelessly posted on Instagram. Correspondence with the children, where they write that they have nothing of what I paid for. A written confirmation from their teacher that the clubs have long since disappeared. And, most importantly, archival certificates from my school confirming that at the age of 15 I lived alone, near the school, without guardians. I explained everything to the lawyer. She wants to control everything again. But now because of the children. And this time I won't let her do it. We decided not to file a lawsuit right away. First, an official letter. And a warning. I put everything in a separate PDF folder. I added an official document signed by my lawyer. And in the end, I wrote the letter myself. Not for emotions. For the truth. Subject, last message. Sarah, I have gathered all the evidence that you have been deceiving me for the past months. I paid for things that did not reach the children. I paid when you wrote that you didn't have any food, and meanwhile you were vacationing in another country. I invested not with money, but with my trust. This time I will not let you destroy my life. And I won't let you destroy those I have come to love. If you ever try to manipulate the children or disrupt our relationship again, these documents will go to court. We will prove that you are not fulfilling your parental responsibilities, that you are harming their mental state. I am no longer your son, and this is not my loss. I finally realized I never had you, but now I have something else, two people who have become closer to me than anyone else. And I won't give them up. Don't write to me. Don't call me. Don't ask. I'm done. Jason. I hit send, and that was it. There was no response. And that was fine with me. Time passed. I saw the children directly. I participated in school meetings. I took them to clubs myself. I talked to their teachers. They became a part of my life. I did not persuade them to call me brother. But when Zach once hugged me and said, "Jace, I'm glad you're ours," I couldn't help myself. I just hugged him silently. I am not looking for perfection. I did not win life. But I finally found what I thought I had lost for a long time: stability. A choice. Peace of mind. My story is not about victory. It's about boundaries. It's about not always holding on to the blood that cuts you. Love is not DNA. It's how you feel and how you choose. And I chose to be something they never were for me. Asterisk, asterisk. I chose to be there for them, and I will not give up for them. Not ever.